The verdict is in. According to Trump, Europe is officially weak and done. And for Canada, we could only survive as USA's 51st state.
They're not doing a good job, Europe. It's not doing a good job in many ways. They're not doing a good job.
I want to ask you
They talk
about
too
that.
much. Well, Europe is a different place.
What do you mean
And
by
if
that?
it keeps going the way it's going, Europe will not be, in my opinion, many of those countries will not be viable countries any longer. They're decaying. They're decaying.
Right. I'm going to put my first question straight to you. Does Trump have a point?
I would say I strongly disagree. I live in Europe. I have to say I love Europe. We all wouldn't be here without the European project. First and for all, it's a big peace project which delivered a lot of prosperity. Mm-hmm. And while it has become kind of a sport to bash the European Union, both from within and from without, I think we have tremendous strength culturally, in our diversity, in our rules-based system, and also in our economic setup. So also our innovative power. And I'm not saying that we don't have a lot of structural things which we need to address and lots of deficits. But I do have to say, I do love the European Union.
Okay. I think we can agree on most of that here at the panel. But also I would put that heretic thought to you, Eric. Does Donald Trump have a point, at least in parts, in his criticism of Europe?
No, not the way he puts it. I find his statement racist. I don't know what he means about Europe not being here, decaying. So I'm lost for words. If you're looking at simple measures like GDP per capita, Europe is doing better than America for over half the population, probably 60-70%, because income distribution is more even here. We live on average 4 years longer than the average American. So I don't know exactly, and we put up 1/10 of what they do in prisons in order to keep our society safe. So I don't really know what he's talking about, that we're decaying.
Few very interesting data points you just pull out of your sleeve there. Very good. John, same question to you. Does Trump have a point?
He doesn't have a point. I mean, except to exhort us, maybe inadvertently. He may be doing us the ultimate favor, with clearly not wishing to do us any favors at all, by waking us up. And I wrote a piece in the last few days saying we now have adversaries to east and west. We have to understand this. America, people are always talking about, there are still some good people in Congress. There are one or two, Marco Rubio, maybe this and that in the administration who are listening to us. This is make-believe. This is wishful thinking as far as...
Well, the good thing about this statement is that the American people finally know now how many states are in the US. The message born in Trump's dementia tormented mind is clear. The only strong power in the world can only be the United States, and its former allies are simply collapsing into irrelevance. But what if this entire narrative is nothing but a strategic lie? The truth is, while the US was focused on the tariffs and internal economic instability, with credit rating being downgraded, its dollar weakening, jobs disappear, and cost of living goes through the roof, the EU and Canada were not weakening. We are, in fact, quietly executing a strategy of parallel convergence. We are building something new, a transatlantic axis, a global power bloc, with over 150 million more people than the US, a similar GDP and a defense mobilization fund of over $1 trillion. So, what is the true reason the US is so desperate to see Europe's fracture and Canada fail? Is it about oil, Ukraine, or is it a desperate attempt to ignore an uncomfortable new reality? Today, we are diving deep into the definitive evidence that proves the EU is not done, Canada is not a vassal state, and why our combined strategy is creating the next global superbloc by 2027. I will bring you this in 4 sections. First, the new European fortress. Second, Canada's pivot to resilience and sovereignty. Third, when parallels converge. And fourth, the true reason for Trump's hostility. Let's begin. The arrogant narrative that Europe is weak and done completely misses the tectonic shift that has occurred since early 2025. This isn't just about politicians talking. It's a massive financial mobilization. Under the Readiness 2030 roadmap, the EU is leveraging up to an astonishing 1.3 trillion of defense rearmament. That fund includes $244 billion self-defense procurement program, creating a true unified defense market, a market Canada is actually part of, and the US is not. This is the EU pivoting from an economic giant that relies on others for security to a geopolitical fortress standing on its own feet. The speed of this reform is equally impressive. The entire bloc is simplifying itself to survive external pressure. The new Defense Readiness Omnibus is designed to slash bureaucracy, aiming to speed up complex projects permitting from years to just 60 days. An unprecedented change for Brussels. And we already see the economic proof. Not only has Spain earned double credit rating upgrades, it remains the world's fastest growing advanced economy for the 2nd year in a row. And Spain is lined up together with Germany, Poland, Latvia and Ukraine to import Canada's LNG. The EU is not fracturing or collapsing like the orange idiot is fantasizing about. Instead, it is hardening its shells and accelerating its internal machine. While Europe is building a fortress, Canada is achieving true sovereignty. We are engaged in an equally powerful national strategy, moving from reliance to resilience. The strategy is clear: aggressive global diversification to withstand US protectionism. Our Canadian response to the orange fascist gangsters' tariff terror is a $5 billion trade diversification corridor fund, creating new ports and rails specifically designed to bypass the US and enable trade with the Indo-Pacific and critical for us with Europe. But the true source of our Canadian strength is our geopolitical leverage. Canada is sitting on some of the world's most strategic resources, an estimated 15 million tons of rare earth elements and massive lithium potential. This positions Canada as the #1 non-Chinese ethical supplier essential for the global clean energy transition, giving it unparalleled power. Canada is also pursuing sovereign AI, recognizing that true independence in the 21st century requires control over the core technology stack. Canada is not America's, the 51st state. It's a global resource and tech powerhouse, deliberately forging its independence. This wasn't a strategic plan. Yes, it happened parallel in Canada and in Europe, virtually at the same time, but independent from each other. And this is the true game changer, almost a natural event, the moment the two parallel strategies, EU and Canada, converge to form the transatlantic axis, the new transatlantic power bloc. This is not a bunch of nations simply talking. They are weaving their economies and security structure together. And in June 2025, Canada and the EU formalized this new thing, this new bloc, with a new security and defense partnership. And the evidence of their joint future is in their industrial contracts. Just a quick reminder that Canada secured a deal to participate in the EU's safe defense procurement marketplace, allowing Canadian firms to compete for contracts within the massive 244 billion Canadian dollar European Defense Procurement Fund. And remember, the US is not invited. This industrial alignment, coordinating on critical minerals and clean technology, is designed to fundamentally de-risk both regions from external volatility, most noticeably the now completely unreliable USA. When you look at the numbers, it's easy to see why this forms a superbloc. We're talking about an entity that combines a population of over 150 million larger than the US, with a combined GDP rapidly nearing that of the US as well. This parallel convergence creates a unified, resilient counterweight that changes the global balance of power forever. Why the consistent, aggressive rhetoric from Washington? Why the obsession with a weak Europe and a weak Canada? Because the hostility is actually a deflection from internal struggles created by the orange idiot himself. It's easier to criticize strong allies than to face an uncomfortable domestic truth. As Europe and Canada are securing massive defense and resource deals, the US is struggling with credit ratings downgrades, a severely weakening dollar, ending 2025 with the worst performance in a decade, at least 717 Chapter 7 or Chapter 11 bankruptcies, the highest bankruptcy rate since 2010, and an unemployment rate that hits 4.6% in November 2025. All while the orange, economically totally illiterate buffoon cosplaying as the US president, lying his face off, pretending GDP is at least 4.3 and going way up. And the US has, of course, absolutely no inflation. The true conclusion is simple and rooted in three realities about the emerging superbloc. First, the economic threat. The EU-Canada Transatlantic Axis represents an economic equal but potentially stronger power that cannot be extorted via tariffs or trade wars. Second, the geopolitical obstacle. The unified financial and military stance of the EU and Canada stands at the key obstacle to Russian geopolitical ambitions, blocking a clear path to victory in Ukraine, but also stands between convicted felon and fraudster Trump's dream to openly side with Putin. And third, the ethical contract. Those two blocs represent governments with higher ethical and democratic standards that refuse to be transactional. They cannot be bought, sold, or threatened into abandoning international principles. Something that is completely inconceivable for the orange fascist gangster Trump. The rhetoric of a weak Europe and a failing Canada is a wish, a strategy of denial, repeated often enough to be believed. But the fact shows a new powerful transatlantic reality is already here. It is a natural convergence of two major developments happening at the same time. That brings me to the question, what do you think the Canada-Europe superbloc should prioritize next to secure its future? If you want to keep track of this stunning new global economic order, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to Europe Curious for more deep dives, just like this one. Thanks for watching. I'm Wilfried Lemkuler from Europe Curious.